Fix on Me. Hey y'all, welcome back to Fix on Me podcast, the place where we inspire men to be better versions of themselves by looking at themselves. I am your host, Angel Hernandez, and in today's podcast, we'll be speaking about vulnerability in fatherhood or through fatherhood. So my guest today is somebody that I come to respect and love him so much. Saeed, he's such a great dad with his kids. And that's why I wanted to, you're doing great. And that's the reason I wanted to have you on this podcast, man, because, I grew up fatherless, you know what I'm saying? So there's some things that I had to unlearn for me to even be a better version of a father that I could be, especially when it came to God too, because if I felt abandoned from my physical dad, that's how I saw God. You get what I'm saying? So I had to really tap into that side of being vulnerable and letting God know, hey, this is how I saw you, this is how I viewed you, but I know you're much closer than what I think of it, So I had to relearn that, and being vulnerable has kind of shifted the way I've seen and interact with a lot of different people. So as a dad, what do you think is the very important aspect of being vulnerable and in fatherhood? You know what I mean?
I think what you said, it's for me the most important thing, which is realizing that you're vulnerable as a father, and that we need God to teach us how to be better fathers.
Yeah.
Because, in your case, right? You said that you grew up with a dad. Or in my case, I grew up with a dad.
Right.
But ultimately, our parents or our dads, they have flaws.
Right.
So if we're not vulnerable enough to realize that they have flaws and that we need to become better, and if we're not vulnerable to realize that we need him,
right,
then that's when we pause down or give the traumas down to our kids.
Yeah, definitely agree with that part.
So I think for me, it has been that journey of realizing I'm not perfect, that I'm full of problems that I need to resolve right now. So then that way I don't pass that down to my children. I have a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And yes, I can say yes, they're young. They can't fully catch all of my imperfections right now.
But they do.
But they do.
Yeah,
they do. Even right now, I started to fully wake up early in the mornings to open my Bible, start my day that way. And the other day, my daughter just woke up earlier than me, and then when I went out, she was with her Bible open.
Nice.
And she just said, "Oh, I just want to talk to God, like my dad does."
Yeah.
And it was a shocker because I've been only doing this for a small period of time, and they're picking that up. So that just shows me that whatever I do, they're picking up.
Yeah.
And it's not that much whatever you say to them for them to do. It's more of what you don't say but you act.
Yeah, correct.
It's what they pick up.
Yeah.
So for me, growing up with my dad, which I love with all of my heart, but he showed me the virtues of being a provider, but more of a financial provider. So I've been in this journey of being vulnerable enough to say, okay, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Because I think vulnerability is that it's accepting what you're wrong at and not staying there, but more of what can I learn out of that?
How can I change? Yep.
Change and save a therapy session for my kid.
Yeah.
Because I know therapy is good, but if I can save my kids from some, then I'll done my job.
No, I agree. It starts at home.
Right.
We are the foundation.
And I think it's that. I don't know how much we're gonna get into
go ahead.
The foundation, but that's how God created things to be. There's an order of things, and if we are able to maintain on that order that God created us, and then if we function through that order, things flow in a better way. So
easy flow,
or everything works in unison. If we accept the fact that we as fathers are the foundation of our home, and accept that responsibility, that's where things started to change. It's not going to be easy,
right?
Because the first person that you have to see, it's yourself.
Always,
So by seeing yourself, it's easier to see like, oh, my wife is not doing this right.
Yeah.
My wife, whatever my wife does, right? Or my kids are not listening. But when do we sit down and say like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
What am I doing wrong that it's affecting them?
And it's affecting the household.
It's affecting the household. And then in the future, just that how you mentioned at the beginning, it's going to affect their view on how they see God.
Yeah.
I was doing an introspective conversation, and then I said, why is it sometimes harder to follow through things, right? So I was talking with my wife, and then she said that she read a study somewhere that it is because sometimes as parents, we don't allow our kids to do like whatever their task, or to give everything to them, like not letting them fail. So you're not building you're not building their resilience, their endurance, because you're always doing something for them. And I didn't realize that sometimes I used to see God that way, because I would see him like, hey, why you're not doing this for me? Why? You said that you're gonna do it, and it doesn't come. So it's always that thing, and not realizing that view that I had with God, it was because out of what my father thought it was good, which it was like, whatever you need, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to work for it. I'll give it to you, which is a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, yes.
And I'm grateful for that. But now me as a father, it's like, okay, I want to give you everything, but I want to show you as well what it means to work for things. So then whenever you find a challenge, you can face it and know that you have it.
Yeah.
That you like, like when you see someone in the eyes, like, I know you have it.
Yeah.
I want my kids to know that. And I've also come to the realization that my job as a father is to raise them up in a way that I can just propel them to life.
Yeah.
And it's like, whenever I'm not here, you're going to be ready. So my job is to get them ready for the life that they're going to face. Whatever that life is, for each family is different.
Yeah.
But I want them to be raised in a household that our core values is that you have God as your Lord and your Savior, and through that, you're going to face challenges. But the Franco family, it's a family that believes that stays grounded, that believes that no matter what comes our way, we're going to stay strong, we're going to stay together, and that we're going to act on faith.
No, that's good, because it does become a challenge when you go through, especially through a season of long suffering. This has been a lot of different topics in some of these podcast episodes, and that's been one of those where long suffering, once again, like I mentioned in a previous episode, is to build character, but it's the individual character that you have to check.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're going through something right in this season, just seek God and ask, what is the purpose, or what do you need to change or break or kill from during this period of long suffering, to even be able to father your children, or even be a better husband. For example, with me, like I know I've had moments where, like you said, we're not perfect as men or as fathers, where my wife might say something and then it causes a trigger. Lately, I've been more of a space like in my trigger, but I pause and I take steps back and I review myself before I respond. But in the past angel wouldn't. The past angel would just like lash out or like get upset, you know what I'm saying? And then when I see my daughter do the same towards her mom, then I have to be accountable enough and vulnerable enough to come up to my daughter and say, hey, I know you saw this of me before, but that's not the correct way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to express your feelings, but you have to learn to express them in a different way where it doesn't hurt your mother, doesn't hurt yourself, or it doesn't hurt me. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think I think that's the beautiful challenge about being a father, which is always leading your tribe to become better.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? Through love.
Yeah.
Through love and how you said, like through validating their feelings,
Yeah.
but not allowing them to stay there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's one of the virtues as a man, that you're able to see things a bit more on the outside, and you can see, okay, this is where
you
we're
see
at.
the whole picture. Yeah.
The whole picture, and you can say, okay, this is where we're at, and we're gonna be here together, and we're gonna face it together. But there's where we're going. That's the goal that we want to go as a family.
Yeah.
And if we're just keeping with our children, they need that.
Yeah.
I believe that children thrive on their boundaries.
Oh yeah.
So the more liberal you are with your children to do, oh yeah, do whatever you want, you can see how they're more stressed about life, as opposed to if you're telling them, like, this is how we do life, this is how we run our lives, this is how we set the example, so it's easier for them to say, okay, this is how we're moving forward. And I think as I try to see it on my life, is how God wants us to be. Like, He sets us on boundaries.
Yeah.
It's like,
God has boundaries.
Guidelines.
He does have boundaries. I had to look that up, and I really went into the Word. And like, I can't remember the certain scriptures, but there was somewhere He was like, He does not like the wicked. That's a boundary. You know, and there's certain things that God points out in the Bible where it's a boundary.
Yeah.
So as a man and as a father, we have to be able to set those boundaries because it helps.
And it comes out of love.
Yeah, and it comes out of love. Yeah.
It doesn't come out of like self-righteousness.
It
comes out of love and out of protecting.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do. Protect.
Yeah, and allow them to test their limits by, setting those type of boundaries, but allowing to test a man to be able to fail.
Right.
I feel like you said earlier, you said you got to give them the space to fail, and that's true.
Yeah.
I think social media has painted this thing of winning. Everybody's winning. It's like an image, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of affects how people see winning. I embrace failure because I feel like I learn from it. Like, okay, I made this mistake. Now how can I avoid not making the mistake again? You know what I'm saying? And even in father, like as a father, when with my daughter, like she's 6 as well, and love my daughter. She's really close with me. But there's literally moments when I'm hanging out with her and we'll sit in the car and have conversations like this at her level, right? Like, like one day I asked her, hey, I call her Mia, and I was like, hey, what can daddy do to be a better daddy for you? And at her level, she was like, take me to theme parks more, And I was just like, okay, she wants to be able to do more things together. That's the way I interpret it. You know what I'm saying? And then I told her, at that time, I also took the moment to speak to her about her emotions because, kids are kids. They're going to express themselves the way they're going to express themselves. You know what I'm saying? You can only set by example. You can't really control it, and then hope that they mold into that. Okay, if I'm angry, it's okay to be angry, but I don't have to like yell to the top of my lungs.
It's a false expectation.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like it's okay for me to be upset. I just have to learn how to not let that upset change the person I am, change the character I am. So I had to like find a way to talk to her, to relate it to her, and one day when I did that. Because one day she's into wrestling. Because I used to watch wrestling. We don't watch it all the time, but probably like events here and there, and she loves these wrestlers like Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. That's her favorite wrestlers. And one day she was upset. I forgot what she was upset at. That she went off and she was screaming really top of the lungs. And then I hear her because I was in a separate room. So I come down. I'm like, hey, what's wrong? And she's like, I'm just upset. And then she's telling me because she said because I wasn't allowed to win in the game. She was playing a game with somebody and she didn't get to win.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, you can't win them all.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but I wanted to win. I'm like, it's okay. I had to tell her like, what can you do that would make you better to be able to win next time.
Right.
And she was just like, she still didn't get it until I brought up the wrestlers that you like, Bianca Belair. You know, she lost the title, right? She lost the belt that she has. She's like, yeah. Did you see her cry and get all upset? Well, she got up. She probably was emotional, but she found a way to put those emotions somewhere else. Like she went to training, hit the gym, became better, so then she can come back and win win another match and win the belt again. She's like, oh, okay. That's her way she understood it. She's like, so he's telling me I gotta be better at Uno. That was the game. That was the game she loves playing. And she said, so I gotta be better at Uno, so then that way I can win, and it's okay if I don't win. So she understood it. You know what I'm saying? So she took it as like, and that's the part where I say, like, you have to find that space of being able to hold yourself accountable to be able to help them guide and express their emotions. Because if not, they will do those.
Yeah, they will. I think they will do those lash outs.
Yeah.
They're gonna do whatever they want with you, and they're gonna grow up to be a statistic of the typical teenager that does whatever they want.
That's whatever they want.
And
I can definitely agree on that.
And it requires. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
By being a father, I think I make mistakes all the time. But it requires to have that strong, loving heart for your children. And I mean, it is hard to see them fail. It is hard to see them suffer. It is hard to see them go through that deep emotion of not being first place. Because my heart wants to say, I'll make it for you first place.
Yeah.
My heart says, like, you didn't get that? I'll go and grab it for you to have it. So you can never feel like you didn't get it. But in reality, you're doing a disservice.
Yeah, what does that teach them?
Like, it's not teaching them anything. So I think when you have boundaries and when you put them in places where they can fail, then it's like a fresh soil that you're molding them, you're getting them ready. Because there's gonna come a day where they're gonna face a real problem.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a Uno problem. It's not gonna who got on the car first.
Right.
It's like, no, it's gonna be a
who got on the car first. Yeah.
Because that happens with my kids. Oh, he got first or she got first out of the elevator.
Yeah.
It's like, this is gonna face a real problem, and if they don't have it, then I'm gonna look at that situation and then say, like, I messed it up when they were kids. When I had the opportunity. And I think it's knowing that we have the opportunity right now to mold them to be the sons and daughters of Christ.
The best version
they
can be.
That they can be, and seeing them through that lens. I think that helps me a lot.
Yeah.
Seeing them and speaking that to their lives, it's what allows me to not yell at them so quickly because they did something wrong.
Yeah.
I prefer to speak the life in them and say, like, I know that you're upset right now, but remember that you are a really patient person, and that's a fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
You just need to work it.
Yeah.
And right now, it's rough. The only thing, in my case, with my kid, like, he's super emotional, and I love it. But sometimes comes the hit after the big emotion.
Yeah.
So it is like, yes, you can be angry, but you can't hit.
You can't hit
me. You can go hit the couch.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go and hit one of your
punching bag,
or ghosts, but you can't hurt people.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not. I don't want to. So somehow I'm trying to navigate this thought of those emotions are it's what's gonna make them in the future. And I don't want to mold them to whatever society is telling me, like, that's how they should behave. Because if God created them in a certain way, I would just want to mold it in the best way possible.
Yeah, because if you think about it in the God's perspective, I had to really look into it myself, because I was like, I remember asking God, like, hey, God, show me your emotions. Because as humans, we need to really learn to control them. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, show me your emotions. I need to see it like in your word, you know, and there was Bibles, like scriptures that came up. And what I learned was that he did have emotion, but it doesn't allow him to change who he is.
Right.
It doesn't change his character. It doesn't change him in keeping his promises. He's consistent in that part, but he will tell you like, when you get convicted, that's like God telling you, yo, I'm not pleased with what you did.
That was too much.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you get that self-convicted, you're like, okay, God, I get it.
Yeah.
But he's not like striking him, you know, mighty. So that's the same way we have to be as fathers. And that's the part where I'm like, I know I've had moments, not recently, but probably the past years ago, where I will lash out at my daughter. And I have to take that vulnerability and accountability of being able to go back and speak to her and apologize for raising my voice and show her that that's not correct. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think for me, because I was like that at the beginning as well, I would lash out so quick. But it was because in my life, I wasn't putting God first in everything. And so then the tensions of the world of, you need to provide, you need to do this, you need to protect, you need to be this. Like it was all of that. And yet you still need to be graceful with your kids.
And your wife.
And your wife.
And yourself.
And I was like, I can't. So I think I had to look at my priorities and say, what's the first thing that God called me, right? He called me to be one with him. Yeah. And then my second ministry, it's my family.
Yeah.
It's not my job. It's nothing else. It's my wife and then my kids. And then it's going to be my or calling as a family. And the moments that I start moving those priorities all over the place, I left my wife out of the picture or I left my kids out of the picture. And that's when I start seeing like, man, I'm acting a fool right now.
Yeah.
And it's not fair that our wives or our kids have to pay our foolishness. It's not fair because if you see it, you're stronger.
Yeah.
You're stronger. And if you're overpowering with your strength your kid, I call myself that being a bully.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because like, how dare you being a grown big man and like lashing out to your kid?
Yeah.
You know, when they don't even know how to control their emotions.
Yeah, they're still learning how to control their emotions.
And yet you are a grown big man of 30 plus years and you still can't control your emotions with your kid.
Well. Exactly.
So it's like, how can you expect
expect them to do it
when you're not doing it?
if you're not
if you're not modeling it.
Yeah, if you're not modeling it.
So I have to remind myself daily, I'm going to be a good father and God teach me how to father my son and how to father my daughter. Because at the same time, I don't believe like you should father them the same way.
No, definitely.
It's like each one is different. So
they're uniquely different.
Yeah. And that's something that we need to praise out of them.
Yeah.
So
just like I'm sure the relationships that both your kids have with you is different from the daughter, and the relationship with you is different from your son's relationship is different with you. Same with the relationship they have with their mom. You know what I'm saying? It's different. And it's funny because I just had a conversation with my wife. She was telling me, I told her like, I understand that a relationship between me and Amia is very different compared to like the relationship you and her have. You know what I'm saying? But
I think it's what you're trying to teach is different.
Yeah.
And you as a father of a daughter, you want to teach her different things that as a mom wants to teach to a daughter.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure you're getting her ready for not to go with any fool.
Oh, definitely.
Says, I love you.
Yeah.
Or you look pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're trying to raise it up with a certain standard.
Yeah, my daughter has these. I think where was it? I think it was yesterday. We went to a hike, and we were driving through Los Feliz Drive, and Los Feliz Drive, you have like Felix estates on the left side of the street. And we were coming back to home, and she's like, "Ooh, I want to live in one of these big mansions, Daddy." And she told her mom, like, "Okay, well, hopefully what we do prepares you to be able to, have one of those in your future when you're an adult." And that's all I told her. She said, "Oh, you're gonna help me?" That's what she said. I'm like, "Well, the goal is to hopefully have things in place that can help you reach whatever goal you desire to reach." And she's like, okay, cool. That's just,
Because it's true.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's how we need to see it. Like, we're here, and our children have to go from here to here, and then like that, and keep going up.
It's the process.
And not passing our trauma bags to them so they can now deal with it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, God calls us to break chains.
Yeah.
So I decided to break chains out of my life of self-doubt, of anger, of lack of future thinking, like everything that
looking at failure as a crippling thing.
Yeah, so all of that, like, I have the privilege to break it for them to see, okay, we can start from a place that we don't have that many chains.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because those chains hold people down.
They hold you down.
And if you don't take care of it as a man, you're right, it passes to the next generation.
And and me having a boy, I don't want my kid to have to deal with that with a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, that's why I'm saying, like, they're my priority.
Yeah.
They're my priority to get them right. And I feel and I believe that if I focus on that, God is going to focus on the rest of the things that we need.
Yeah, and what you're doing right is because you're also focusing on yourself as far as, like, what do I need to change to 100%. Be a better father? What do I need to change to be a better husband? 100%. Because they see it, like you said, they see everything.
And I think within that, it's super important, in my case, to be open for feedback.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who knows us best? Our wives. And sometimes whatever they say, like, it just goes, like, straight in, and my first reaction sometimes, like, wait.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's not me. But then it's knowing that place of, okay, she's sharing that out of love, and because she's seeing something that I'm not seeing. So let's see how we can make that change. And usually what I do, it's like, hey, you told me this, let me bring it to God. So he can show me the whole thing. And because sometimes I feel like whenever we see something with our partners, we only see, like, the small part of it.
Yeah.
But we don't know, like, the whole trauma behind it.
Yeah.
So whenever we put God in the center or in the middle of that conversation, in our case, we've seen, like, how it just opens, like, okay, this is because something that happened when you were 4 years old, because this conflict happened,
this trauma,
and then it just created this. So it's this secondary emotion, right?
But it's creating that space of vulnerability to be able to have that openness.
Yes.
In the marriage and in fatherhood.
And finally, for your kids to tell you, like, hey, like, I don't know if you love me right now.
Right. Or my daughter coming up and say, that was mean, Daddy, what you did. You know what I'm saying? No, I can't just brush it off.
Yeah.
I have to take it in and say, okay, if she thought what I said was mean, let me look at and retrace and what I see, what I've done, to go back and tell her, okay, I understand why you say that was mean, and that, be able to go back and talk to her, because now that's building trust, and it's building the right emotional space. Because as men, we're taught to not be emotional. Let's be real. We're taught to be like strong superhero. Even as fathers, like, you get seen as a superhero type of. Well, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't see my dad as a superhero because he wasn't around.
It's the expectation.
But that's you have all those social factors. I call them social factors. But I feel like real strength comes from being able to be vulnerable and show that weak side of you, and be able to say, okay, how can I improve? Because if you don't allow that side to come out, it just causes more stress, more uncontrolled emotion, more negative thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not able to be vulnerable to create the space for your family and your kids, then how you expect them to be able to be open and honest without them being able to cause harm to themselves.
No, I agree. I think
or not beating, not harm, but beating themselves up. Like, you know how people can get in their head, like themselves, like, oh, dude, I messed up and I said this,
Yeah, no, I agree. And talking about emotions, I want my kids to be super emotional, but on the right control of emotions. Because at the same time, I might be wrong, right? But I don't believe that someone that it's a grown-up should be crying for everything. Just because you're saying,
we had this
yes,
discussion before.
my emotions,
Yeah.
I'm letting my emotions out.
Yeah.
And you're crying because someone cut you off in the freeway, or because someone did something to you at work, right? It's like, no, might be wrong, but that's how I see it, right?
No, it's true. No,
that's yes, you can be upset.
You can be upset.
But I think allowing the emotion to control you, that's where I see the problem.
That's the problem, yes.
If you're allowing the anger, the sadness, whichever emotion to control you and not let you go to where you're going, that's a problem that I see.
Yeah.
And
because what did we learn at the men's conference? That usually the anger,
it's a secondary.
It's a secondary. So meaning that there's something deeper in
that
there
causes
the
fear of rejection causes you to be angry with someone.
Yeah.
Because they don't respond.
And that's what I meant by when I asked God, like, show me your emotion and how you deal with the emotions, because that's how I got to model it. So in order for my daughter to start, not lashing out and not yelling at the top of her lungs when she's emotional, if I'm modeling the same thing, she's going to continue to do that. You know what I'm saying?
And knowing that we're different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part, stereotypes, whatever people call it. Like, we're different. Like, I feel like a woman, it's more emotional. It's beautiful. Definitely. And that's beautiful, like the emotional heart that women have.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's the other side of who God is.
Yeah.
Like that emotional, caring, loving God. And I feel like, man, it's this emotion, but it's this controlled emotion. That if we learn as fathers and as men to control it, you can push through.
Yeah.
In anything that comes your way.
Because you don't want to make emotional decisions.
There's decisions that can be emotional.
Right.
And they can't.
Yeah.
There's things that it's right and there's things that is wrong.
Right.
It can be hard and it's an emotion because it's hard on you, but it's like it's right and wrong.
Right.
And it's knowing that, being vulnerable, and to understand whenever you're making decisions out of ego and because like, oh, I need to make these decisions because I'm the man and all that.
Yeah.
I think those are the moments that you have to sit down and God will sit you down.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And he'll tell you, like, you know what, that's not how you lead my family.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, our wives and our children are his first.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And if you do have that type of, like you said, the emotion where you feel like you have to be in control to the point where you're controlling your family, then that's something.
Yeah, it's like a red flag.
Yeah, that's something you got to work on.
So I think it's a really thin line.
Yeah.
I think it's a really thin line, and sometimes because we've learned, if they taught us to, we never cry about anything, that sometimes we don't allow our full selves to come out and to give what our families need. So, and I think it's something beautiful whenever your children can see like, oh, my dad is crying for something, and seeing how you're able to cry it, feel it, control it, and use it to propel you. Obviously, depending on the scenario.
Depending on the scenario.
And I think for even with our wives, like it's good for them to see that you have emotions.
Yeah.
Because
that definitely.
So it helps. But at the same time, again, my perspective, a woman would always prefer someone that it's gonna hold her through their emotions, say like, yes, we're going through this, it's hard, but we're gonna we're gonna move, and we're gonna get out of this.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone, let's just cry together and how sucky life is, and who's gonna save us?
Or somebody that complains all the time.
Or complains all the time.
Somebody that doesn't take the accountability to say, okay, we're in this season right now, but let me tap in with God and check the reason why we're going through what we're going through.
Yeah.
Because that develops the change that needs to occur.
Because if we bring it back to what we're talking at the beginning, that boundaries are good, and that God is a good father to us.
All the time.
Yep. All the time, and we are under His will, then that means that what we're going through, He's going to use it for good, and that He's going to teach us something through it.
Yeah, something else is going to develop from us.
It's developing something, or He's using it for a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
So, and that's being in His will. And that's us submitting ourselves as men to His will.
Yeah.
So the same with our children. If they're suffering through something, but it's within our boundaries of safety, they might not see the full picture. But we were seeing like how it's developing them.
Yeah.
So it's having that perspective that whenever we're going through something, God is using it for our own good.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is like the healthy slap in the face, like, hey, it's this way.
Right, instead of the other way. And that, I had a lot of seasons of that. I had a lot of, and it was things that either my wife would tell me like, hey, you doing this is causing stress here. And I just wouldn't see it. It would just be like, oh, but I'm focused on being a provider. You know what I'm saying? I had to learn that even as a provider, you have to set certain boundaries where it won't take you away from the family.
Yeah,
I had to learn that because at first I was just like, I have to have this awesome work ethic.
Yeah, just financial.
Yeah, financial. I got to provide everything. I have to make sure, but then I'm not spending enough time with the wife. I'm not spending enough time with my child. You get what I'm saying? So then that becomes a thing of like, yo, all right, let me pause and reassess and now make the space to be able to.
Yeah, I was on the same boat. I was on the same boat because that's what it was modeled to me. I was modeled to, you go up first thing in the morning, you go out and work, and you make it happen. So you come home and then you did your part. And I know it's not the best way, and that's why I've come to learn that providing, it's not financial. You have to provide.
It's more than just financial.
I believe that you have to provide financially because it makes you fulfilled as a man to know that you have a purpose. So I think it's important. I know that you have to provide emotionally. So that means
the emotional space,
the right emotional space. It's by providing and leading that emotional space. For me, the way that I see it, it's that you create the table for the emotions to come up, and then you are able to help and maneuver and support, and that you are able to provide protection, like physical protection, then that means no one's gonna come and say nothing to your wife.
Yeah. Or your kids.
Because you're gonna jump.
Yeah.
So then that means that
that means try Jesus, don't try me.
Yeah. So that's like you better be learning something to provide that way. So you're protecting that way. And most importantly, I think we're called to provide spiritually. So then that means being the head that shows them, hey, let's look for Jesus. If we're struggling, let's look at God and see what He has for us. If we need prayer, let's go there. If we're getting angry, okay, let's bring God into this situation. If we see someone in need, what would God wants us to do right now in this moment as a family? So then that way, you are providing the whole circle.
That's good.
And the way that I feel it in my life, it's like if all of my attention it's in that whole compass of provision, I don't have time to be focusing on dumb stuff that it's happening around my life, or trying to think about other stuff or other people, because all of my time it's on this.
It's on,
And I'm happy. I think this is what I've always wanted, and this is what I was called to do.
That's good. No, that's good, man. I like what you said about when you brought down I think you brought down like 4 of them, but the main one was really the God part. Like, if we were to put them in order, I feel like that one's the first one.
Yeah.
Because as men, we have to learn to surrender to the foot of God. You know what I mean? To surrender to Him. And then that like you said earlier, that funnels to the family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then they model the same thing. But if we're not willing to surrender or be vulnerable enough to surrender to God, it doesn't, how do you expect that to funnel down to your family?
Yeah.
It's not. You're clogging it. You know what I'm saying? You're clogging it up. So it just becomes a thing of,
it always starts with the head.
It always starts with the head.
Businesses, work,
Everything
is the head.
And I've noticed that even when it came to provision, I had this idea of provision, you know, and it wasn't until I really went into the Word and just asked God again, like, show me the idea of provision, because I'm thinking of something. I'm thinking like physical provision. And when He showed me, like, you just gotta trust me in everything, everything, like your finances, your work, your marriage, your kids. Bring all that to me and surrender it to me. And you surrender everything that you want to change within yourself to me as well. And I will give you the provision that you need to navigate your finances, to navigate your children, your marriage.
And it's the hardest thing.
It's hard.
Because I just thought right now, like, what is the hardest thing? No, it's not what's the hardest. What's the thing that we love to do most as men when we see a problem?
Fix it.
We want to fix it.
Yeah.
Because it's ingrained in us, like, okay, let's fix it. Something with our wives. No, I know the fix. I know the fix. Like, no, we just want you to hear me, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, we want to fix it.
Yeah.
So the thing that we want to do, it's the thing that we have to submit to God.
Yeah.
Which is like, I want to fix it, but what do you want?
Yeah.
And it's so hard.
It's a moment in time for that to be fixed, but right at that moment, it might not be the time.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Or you'll get it fixed, but the way that He wants you to fix it.
That's what I mean, yeah.
And sometimes that fixing it means just stepping back.
Yep.
And let time go.
Yep. And that's the tough part, because like you said, as men, we naturally want to fix something.
We want to fix things.
If our kids come to us with a problem, if the wifey comes with a problem,
like, this is the solution.
This is what we can do, you know, right away. And I have to like relearn to more of listening. You know what I'm saying? I had to relearn that, and actually, because now my wife would be like, she would tell me, "Oh, this is great. I feel like I'm being heard." And this is how it's been. The conversation's been throughout this whole year, like that she's being heard, because I had to relearn the part of not wanting to fix something right away. You know, now there are moments where something's being told to me, and I get revelation right away.
Yeah.
And I might say like, hey, okay, how do we avoid not, you know, having a thought process of something that might cause you to feel, you know, emotionally somehow, you know what I'm saying? And then that causes, that makes the wife or my daughter realize like, okay, yeah, you know, if I don't think about this or focus on this, then it's fine. But yeah, the fixing part.
It's your unique way of seeing things as the same way it's her unique way of seeing things. And that's why it's so important to have those type of households where we're building those foundations of using both strengths to create a unified strength of a family.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, me too.
See, like he said, I don't know what we're talking about.
Listen, there's a clock over there, and I'm just watching. No, I think for me, there's been a heavy attack against everything that we should be, and and we are just told what you should be and how you should act.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion
That
with like
that's
masculinity and all that. It's like people have an idea of what should be,
like, let's bring it back to the Bible and let's stay
Yeah.
true what that says.
So I think you just gave the point. This was going to be the closing question I was going to ask. What's your advice giving fathers who embrace vulnerability but don't know where to start?
If you don't know where to start, I'm just gonna speak for myself.
That's what you hear, man.
When I didn't know where to start, and when I realized that I didn't know where to go, it was the first step. Because it was that aha moment, like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and then I'm like expected, or I want to tell my kids what to do. That's the root of the problem.
Yeah.
So it was knowing that, and it was me asking the tough questions and accepting the tough answers that God was giving me.
No, that's good. I like that because even when it comes to this topic of vision and stuff, sometimes we see the big picture, but then we want to know every step of the way, and
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, and I think
you don't have to know everything.
As fathers, like,
you don't. You just go through the moment, that process, that time, and you will develop the better version of yourself that is required for that season and for future seasons to come. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And at the same time, I've liked to create frameworks of what I want myself to be.
Yeah.
So that means by creating core values for a family. Like I sit with my wife and say, hey, what are we gonna stand for?
Yeah.
What's gonna be that thing whenever they say
the
Hernandez family, like, what do they stand for?
Yeah.
Whenever they find themselves in a challenge, what are they gonna pick? You know, so that way you go through that, and in accepting the fact that you're broken, and then
that it's okay.
That it's okay to be broken, but it depends on you, on how fast
you're gonna process.
You're gonna rebuild
the process. Yeah.
It could take 10 years.
Yeah.
It could take 20 years, or you can go into an intensive to say like, hey, this is where I suck. Everyone's been telling me that I suck at this.
Yeah.
How can I be better at this? And just focus on that. Focus on that.
And then be accountable to be able to do that.
And tell that to people, like, hey, like, this is where I'm been lacking. I need accountability.
Yeah.
I need grace from your wife to say, hey, I know I've been bad at this. I'm gonna get better. If not, call me out.
Exactly.
Call me out and say like, hey,
and be
you told me
open
this.
to be called out and not be offended.
Yeah.
That's another thing I had to learn. And when people call stuff out, or even my wife would call stuff out, I had to learn not to get offended, because, you know, that offense means this was something, like we said in the past. It's a triggering factor from something in the past, but I'm not dealing with stuff in the past. That's dead.
Yeah.
So in order for me not to get offended from somebody telling me something, I'm like, okay, if I'm feeling this way, let me take the steps that I need to back again and check myself first, because offense is usually like something that was in you that caused the offense, because the person might have been saying something without trying to be offensive. You know what I'm saying? But it's usually always you.
Yeah.
It's always you.
It's always you.
You know. But yeah,
we heard really quick in advice. Someone told us that whenever we get offended by whatever the other person said, it's because we think that we're against each other. But whenever we think that we're one team, it's not. They're not giving a bad comment to you. They're trying to build the team up.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we think that no, we're a team, and then we're both growing and learning, then it's
iron
easier
sharpening
to accept.
iron, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So
yeah, but
we're a work in progress.
Definitely, definitely, still to this day.
And I think it'll be cool to see this video in 20 years.
It will be,
because then you'll know if everything that we said, we stayed true to it, or if it was good or not.
Yeah. But if you don't mind just closing us out in prayer, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, God, thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you for Angel, God. Thank you for the people that are listening, God. I pray that you were able to speak to whoever's speaking, whoever is listening to this, God, that they can listen, that you love them, that you are a good father to them, that they can feel right now in this moment the touch of your spirit, that they can know that Christ died for them, and through Christ now they are part of the sonship and daughtership of the King. And I pray that you teach all of us how to become better fathers for our children. Our children need us, and that's a prayer and a call to action to all of us to become better, to stay strong, and believe who God is calling us to be. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Boom.